Let's keep going with the phones. Hey, Mark in Oakland. And I think we did this once before. First of all, thank you for calling. How do you spell your first name?
It's with a K.
Okay, thank you. Will you stop doing that in the other room? Stop it. They keep putting your name up here as Mark with a C, and they're just trying to get under my skin, and I won't have it. Thank you, Mark with a K.
But it's working.
No, Mark with a K.
It's going great.
Thank you for being a part of the club. Hello.
I'm glad to be here. So first of all, I just got to say, I, as a 49er fan, am glad that what we're debating is if the undefeated quarterback on the undefeated team, if others could do that job. That's a cool spot to be in as a fan, because that means we're really good.
Amen.
So first off, I'm happy with all that. Second off, this is how good your topics are, you two, and the way you're getting into my head. I'm watching the game yesterday, and I'm like, how am I going to call tomorrow and explain how Purdy isn't as good as Mark thinks he is? That's what I'm thinking.
Am I right?
Oh, man.
But here's my answer.
If you're thinking of us, Mark, if you're thinking of us in the middle of the game on Sunday, I like it. Favorite compliment of the week, easily.
Nice. Well, that's what you guys stayed with me. So here's what I'm going to come with today. I don't think it's outlandish to say that you could have a solid mid-level quarterback who's not necessarily great on a team like this, and they're doing good. And I feel like, Mark, possibly you're doing a little gaslighting, but it's kind of fun to play with. And here's how I think. If someone comes in and goes, anyone could do that, I could do it, that's kind of crazy. And I know I'm not someone like that. Like, I could get up there and throw touchdowns for the 49ers. I know I couldn't. I do think about half of the starting quarterbacks in the league would be doing about as good as Purdy, because this team, he has so much time and so many weapons and such a good coordinator. So I think, but you will act like that's crazy if someone says, well, maybe he's just solid and this is a great team and it's making him look good. You're like, no, like you're a heretic or something. So I feel like you're going the other way with it, which actually makes it fun, because then I can sit here and try to convince you. But first, I want to know, is that what you really think? Is there not any party that's like, he might just be decent and this team is really good? Because it feels like you think that's not a possibility, and I think that's a reasonable possibility that needs to be considered.
Yeah, personally, I think the word decent is not appropriate. Yes, so no, I do not find that. And here's why. I'm not gaslighting Mark. What I honestly believe is that the things he does are undervalued. Like, we don't see them. When we talk about quarterback talent, and this is why we've coined the word draftism on the show, is when we look at quarterbacking, we love to marvel at certain things. Arm strength, size, mobility, improvisational ability. These are the things that, like I just described, Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. And they're Adonis-looking dudes with massive arms, the improvisational ability, and winning teams. And so that's sort of what our standard is. What Brock does, but I think he does it at an elite level, is the little stuff that, quite frankly, in the end, matters more. Doesn't mean he's going to ever be Mahomes or Allen. I don't necessarily even think that. But in order, and Mark, thank you so much, in order to be a successful QB in this league, I actually think there's plenty of data to suggest that decision-making, timing, and accuracy are probably the three most important things for a quarterback to have. Now, if you can put them along with howitzer arm, unbelievable legs, ability to move within the pocket, now you're going to get a Mahomes, right? And I'm not saying he's that, but I would take these subtle Purdy skills over the Jamarcus Russell skills, Jeff George.
Yeah, it's funny that you picked those two out of the hat.
Howitzer
two
arm,
absolute bums.
Right, but how they got all the tools. Howitzer arm.
All the tools.
The size, the draft, all of the stuff that we want the quarterback to have.
Your breakdown was great until you used those two guys as comps.
Then let's pick two new ones.
Let's pick current quarterbacks who have big arms, who maybe aren't absolute washout busts.
Okay.
Jamarcus Russell, in terms of ability to study and learn and make decisions, he is among the worst in storied history. And Jeff George was not ever known for his football acumen, and but the big arm from Jeff
Right,
George.
but they were drafted incredibly early, and there were
Right.
high expectations.
I do think now, especially in this modern football, we're in a time where what Brock Purdy does is more valued than ever before because more offenses now are run in what fashion? It's the RPO. More teams do RPO or that type of quick pass, read and react offense than ever before. So the howitzer arm is not as important as it used to be.
Okay.
And we actually had that article in ESPN. I think you shared it in terms of like death of the deep ball.
Yeah.
And you really have like Brock and his deep balls from the other game, they were very designed and they weren't like, one-on-one, man-to-man, let's throw it 55 yards down the field.
I mean, we had this. I feel like we started this conversation the week, maybe the day after the Giants were in town, that Thursday night football game, the opener. So let's take Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, big dude, good legs, good arm, 7th overall pick in the draft.
Right.
And somehow, even after that game, and maybe it was because, Brock was wobbly for 2 seconds. Remember, there were a couple throws that almost got picked off. But anyway, there are people who believe that if you swapped out Daniel Jones and Brock Purdy, that the two teams would look exactly the same. And yes, Mark, in Oakland, I think that's crazy.
Brock Purdy would be in a hospital if he was on the Giants.
Well, okay.
Daniel Jones got sacked 11 times last night.
Did you see Eric Armstead's tweet?
Did you hear what I said?
Yes.
He got sacked 11 times. Brock
Right.
Purdy's been sacked 7 times all year.
First of all, the entire offensive line was hurt. So he's working with nothing but backups.
And so Brian Dable thought, let's just drop back and sling it.
I mean, have you seen any other ridiculous coaching moves this year? Did you see Eric Armstead's tweet?
Yes, I did.
For those of you who didn't see Eric Armstead's tweet, I don't have it in front of me, but I'll paraphrase. It was something along the lines of, damn, Daniel Jones, why couldn't you sit back there in the pocket and look for receivers when you were playing us so that we could have career days too? And it immediately goes to the point I was making to you yesterday about people who are worried about the 49er defense right now. I think a lot of the completions that you're seeing other teams put out there are because they're being told, when you drop back against the Niners, get rid of the ball immediately. And it is exactly what Daniel Jones did when he was playing the 49ers, and he did not do it last night. They disrespected the Seattle defense, and they paid because of it.
Dearly.
They paid dearly.
They paid very dearly, and that's where it's tough to make those comps, but I think Daniel Jones is a fair one because he is a bigger guy with a bigger arm. I do think that he's able to execute the short passing game, but right now they're in trouble. They have no offensive line, and they don't have a real running game. So You're asking the guy to set back there when the other team knows that you're going to throw the ball.
So if Daniel Jones is the 49er quarterback, what does it look like?
They're probably 4-0, and you could pick... We could play this game with about 18 other quarterbacks, and I would have them at 4-0.
And what would the Giants be if Brock Purdy were their quarterback?
Probably about the same. They might be a little bit better, but...
You think they're interchangeable?
I think Brock Purdy's better than Daniel Jones, but I think the Giants are in a spot where they're in real trouble. I don't think that their coach is very good offensively. I think that their offensive line is terrible, and they don't have a lot of skill guys. And this is not to denigrate Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's been amazing. And if I go through all these metrics and I'm looking at all of them, on target percentage, he's 5th in the league right now in OTP, the all-important OTP. And he's actually 4th if you take out Gardner Minshew. What percentage of your passes, excluding spikes and throwaways, are on target? And he's at 82%. And that's only behind Dak, Herbert, and Mahomes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's heady company.
It's really, really good stuff.
So, yes, Kyle schemes. Yeah. He schemes his guys open, but then Brock Purdy figures out who is supposed to get the ball and then delivers the ball to that player.
Well, I also think
this is not to minimize what he's doing. It's amazing.
It's not a video game, though. Like Kyle schemes it open. Yes, there are certain plays like, 4th and 4, they go to Kittle. That's option one. That's a scheme. Okay, but to think that Brock is not going through progressions. Remember the play to Ayuk down the left side against the Rams when Kyle said afterwards, I was kind of surprised with where the ball went.
Yes.
Brock is not a joystick. He's not. There's not a button where you're like, okay, throw it now. Like he's actually out there making those decisions. You look at Daniel Jones last year when he was on a better team. They went to the playoffs. He got a massive contract out of that. He played in all the games. He threw 15 touchdowns and had 5 interceptions.
What do you have, 7 on the ground? Maybe more.
7, yes. Yeah.
And he rushed for like 700 yards.
708 yards, yeah.
He was a big two-way threat, but I don't think that you look at Daniel Jones last year and think, yeah, this is a guy we want to give $40 million a year to. They gave him $40 million a year. They were kind of stuck. If Brock Purdy continues to play like this and he gets to his contract situation, he's getting 45 or 50 a year, and he will have earned it.
That's going to be an interesting one. You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. I do think the 49ers are in a better situation than maybe people realize when it comes to this, and it's not for today, but the financial conversation with Brock Purdy. So a lot of people don't know this. We've mentioned it a few times. He is not even allowed to ask for an extension until after next year. He can't even ask for one. This like against the CBA rules because he's only in year 2.
Can't even hint at it.
No, he could I know people who are like, who's going to hold out next year? No, he won't.
He's not even allowed to address Parag Marate.
No, he cannot speak to him.
No. No. Christmas card? No.
So after next year, you got 2 more full seasons of Brock, this one and next one. And then you see where you're at. And if it is this good, let's say he's still never lost a game, well, then that's fine. But let's say it's just, good, solid quarterback play. Then the pre-year 4 extension conversation happens. What does that look like? And
sweet Jesus.
Well, I don't think it actually is, Brock's going to get a Burrow contract. I actually think.
Tell me that Farhan now works for the Niners?
No, I'm telling you that.
It's a joke.
When you're about to play football for a 4th season and you've been paid a sum total of like $2.5 million over 3 years, and someone is looking at you going, okay, we would like to give you a bucket that has many, many, many millions of dollars in it, or you could, play the season or hold out.
Yeah.
The Niners are going to be in a situation with Brock that's a little unique. He's not a number 1 overall pick.
Plus, they can franchise him if they really want to go that route. There's a lot of things they can do.
He's going to want a bit like Brock Purdy will, for the first time in his life, a piece of paper will get put in front of him that basically says on it, would you like to not worry about money ever again? And he'll say, yeah. He'll say, yeah. So there's not that Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert leverage for Brock in a year and a half.
I'll buy that
we're used to. I'm not saying it won't be big. It'll be big. But it's not going to be top of the market, I don't think.
Well, even if he wins the Super Bowl,
unless
they
he
don't
wins
have
2.
Well,
I mean, if he still hasn't lost a game a year and a half from now, then we'll talk.
I guess the public pressure would be there. But what's Brock going to do? So if they offer him a deal after year 3 and he hasn't won a Super Bowl, but he's been good, maybe not this good, but he's been really, really good, and the team says, yeah, we want to give you $40 million. We want to give you the Daniel Jones contract, 4 and 160. How about that, Brock? And Brock's like, well, that would make me the 13th highest paid quarterback in the league.
And they'll go, good, that's your
number.
number.
It's going to be a no from me, dog. Then, I mean, it would. I don't know if the team wants to get into that sort of a push-pull with the fans obviously siding with Brock.
Sure.
That's a conversation for way down the road.
That's a no for me, dog.
Perfect. Aiden in San Jose. Hey, Aiden, you're on with Willard and Dibs.
Hey, guys. Awesome show. Always love hearing you guys.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm looking for some advice. I've got the most annoying Broncos fan next door to me.
Okay.
And he doesn't believe in Brock the way that, me and my fellow fanatics have. Trying to see if you guys can give me some advice on some arguments or some sides here to prove that, supporting Brock's side and what he's already accomplished with the Niners.
Well, first of all, you could get personal and just say that the Bronco fan is being a hater because of all of the misery that they're going through and the fact that not only do they have a poor team with poor quarterback play, they're locked into it for the next 3 or 4 more years.
What you can do is
you can play dirty right away.
You can play really dirty by blasting Sierra music like "My Goodies, Not My Goodies" at the top of your speaker's volume to just drive home the point that they have Russ and Sierra in Denver.
But Aiden, I would actually say
Great
this.
ideas.
I would actually say this, Aiden. I want you to go and meet that person where they live. And I know that no, listen. Remember,
shake that man's hand.
No, not that.
Okay.
No. But what I mean is that person's expertise is with the Broncos, right? Not the 49ers.
Yeah.
So you go to that person and say, what was it that happened when John Elway finally won a Super Bowl? Just ask him. Ask him. And what do you think he's going to say?
You tell me.
He's going to say, well, they finally put a team around him, and Terrell Davis became the best running back in the league, and so we went out and won back-to-back Super Bowls. And you're going to say, oh, so you mean great quarterbacks are allowed to have great running backs behind them, and that doesn't take away from their legacy, right?
Yeah. Got it.
That's what I want you to do. And you'll just be approaching with questions so he won't think you're being aggressive, and you'll pin him. You'll pin him on the floor like a wrestler, Aiden.
Oh, I'm so glad I called you.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
Hey, or you can take the dibber route, Aiden, and just go up there and say, you know what? John Elway, overrated. That's right.
Because you just throw stuff
you
at their
look at
door.
his career, until he got decent players around him, good players that carried him, Elway, he's nothing, my dude. 57% completion for his career?
Is that true?
Dude, you are Tannehill. Thank you for calling.
Is that a
Aiden.
real stat?
56.9% completion.
Gosh, quarterback stats have just gotten sideways.
Elway led the league in yardage once, led the league in touchdowns never.
It's wild.
Threw 300 touchdowns to 226 picks. He led the league in attempts twice. Oh, he's a gunslinger. He was carried by his teammates.
Wow. I mean,
John Elway, overrated. There it is. That's Aiden. That's what you come with.
Cut it. Send it to Aiden.
Thank you.
No, quarterback stats are different. They are. It's funny because those of us, if you've been watching football for a minute or two, some of the guys we think are great, and then you're like, you'll get into arguments with people. You'll be like, oh, Joe Montana was unbelievable, and John Elway, and then you pull up the stats. You'll be like, look at this. And then you look at the stats. You're like, oh, crap. My argument just kind of died on the vine because it was a different league. We didn't do 75% completion and 18 guys over 4,000 yards back then.
70 is what 60 used to be.
Yeah.
Like 70 back now, 70 is like, whoa, 70 is great. Remember when Drew Brees was at 70 about 8 years ago and it was record breaking and all that? And this year you've got, I think, 7 or 8 guys above 70 because it's pitch and catch. I was surprised when I just punched up the Elway numbers. How
that's really surprising.
Mediocre.
Yeah.
And he was the MVP in 1987, and they went 8-3-1, 19 touchdowns. It was a shortened year.
Yeah.
But, I mean, John Elway, overrated.
Great player, but...
He's all right.
You know.
It's my new take.
Great players need, more great players around them.
Brock Purdy, greater than John Elway.
I love it.
There.
I mean...
You happy?
Well, no, I'm not happy. Now I'm upset that I didn't go to Warrior Media Day yesterday.
How come?
Because I wanted to let Steph know that he's a product of all the good players around him.
No, Steph.
Has
he ever won a title without Draymond Green?
Steph, you're good. It's not that you're not good. You are. You're good. I mean, but what a situation. Am I right?
What did he do before Draymond got there? The answer? Not a damn thing.
Got Monte Ellis traded.
Yeah, that hurts. Somebody asked me on Twitter earlier today where the I'm a Warriors, I'm always going to be a Warriors, and that's Monte Ellis. That was Monte's quote from, back in like 06 or whatever. Yep. I'm a Warriors, I'm always going to be a Warriors.